Hello, my beautiful sixth graders. Today we are going to start talking about order of operations, or as I like to call it, OOO. So, order of operations. We are going to use a tower to show our work as well. And to do that, it's going to look like this. It's going to have 4 rows. Hopefully we have heard what the P stands for. It stands for parentheses. We're not going to talk about that specifically today. We will in the future. And then after parentheses, we are going to learn about exponents. Exponents are those little bitty numbers at the top of another number. But again, we're going to learn about those at a later date. Today we are only going to focus on these 2 bottom parts. All right. So on these 2 bottom parts, we have division. I'm going to go ahead and put a symbol, and multiplication. So we can put a X or a dot. Okay, for division, I guess I could even put a dash. It's not a very good dash. All right, so what we need to know with division and multiplication is they are in the same box because we have to go left to right when we're looking at a math problem, and we read it like a sentence. Or we like to say first come, first serve. So if division comes first in our problem, we do division. If multiplication comes first, then we do multiplication. So first come, first serve. All right? Again, that is multiplication and division. After we do all of our multiplication and division, we can move on to subtracting and adding. Again, we read our problem like a sentence, left to right, and that is again first come, first serve. Whoever comes first in the problem is what we do first. All right. And then the last thing before we actually go into some problems is we are going to check all parentheses. So remember, parentheses look like this before starting and rewrite those parentheses if needed. So AKA, if it means multiplication, we're going to rewrite for multiplication. Alrighty, and then we're gonna move on in and actually start practicing. So on the inside, example number 1, we have adding, and we have a dot, which we know means to multiply. So when we have more than one operation, we are going to use our OOO tower. So we're gonna draw it over here, and it has 4 boxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it doesn't have to be perfect, just the best you can. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put the P for parentheses and the E for exponents. Those 2 never change. Even though we're not using those today, they still go in those top 2 boxes. So my options for this 3rd box are multiplying and dividing, so we can put that over there, and adding and subtracting. So I'm gonna go look and see, do I have any of those? So right here in my problem, I have adding. So I'm gonna put the letter A in this row because that's where my adding goes. The next thing I see is a dot, which means to multiply. So in my multiply and divide row, I'm going to put an M for multiply. Those are the only 2 operations I have. So now that I have made my OOO tower, I can solve. So when we go to solve, we're going to start at the top of the OOO tower and go down. So do I have parentheses in my problem? No, I do not. So it is X'd out. It is gone. Now I can go to the next step. Do I have any exponents? No, because we haven't learned about exponents. Going down. Now I am ready to multiply. So I go to my problem and I put a box around my multiplication and I solve. 36 times 2 is 72. Once I solve, I'm going to mark that out. And this part that was left over here, I'm going to bring down and rewrite. So this plus 16 goes in front, it has to stay in the same order. So now going back to my OOO tower, I did my multiplication. All that is left is adding, which makes sense because that's all we have left. And 16 plus 72 is 88. And that's the last step. There's nothing left, so my answer is 88. And that's how we use our OOO tower. So let's go to example number 2. So again, I have parentheses here. I have subtracting and multiplying. So I have lots of different operations happening. So I need to use my OOO tower. So I'm going to draw it. Remember, it has 4 boxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And the next thing I need to do is I need to decide what this parentheses means. So right here, we have discussed, is there anything between the parentheses and the 6? Is there anything in the middle? No. So that means multiplication. So we are going to rewrite this problem. This is 6 times 11 minus 5 times 9. And I'm going to mark that out so that way I don't even have to worry about that parentheses, because it's not really a parentheses, it's multiplication. So now I can write my OOO tower. Remember, parentheses and exponents never changes. I have multiply and divide, add and subtract, and now I can go to my problem and see, do I have anything? I have one multiplication here and another multiplication here. So since I have 2 multiplications, I am going to write 2 M's, multiply, multiply. I don't have any divisions, so I don't need to write any D's because I'm not dividing anything. Okay, and then the only other thing I have left is this subtraction here in the middle. So on this bottom row, I'm going to put an S for subtract and no A's because I'm not adding. And then I can use my OOO tower and actually start solving. So no parentheses, we're going to mark it out. Remember, we start top to bottom. So now I can go to my next step. Exponents are not a thing today. So I'm ready for my first multiply. And remember, we go left to right, just like a sentence. So I start at the front, the first multiplication. 6 times 11 is 66. And then I'm going to rewrite everything else that was over there. Minus 5 times 9. Okay, now I can go back to my OOO tower and I am ready for the next multiplication. Okay, I can't go down to subtract until I'm done with all of this row. So now I have to go to the back and do my other multiplication. 5 times 9 is 45. Okay, mark that out. We forgot to mark that one out up there. And rewrite. I have minus 66, and again, it has to stay in the same order. So I go back to my OOO tower. I'm done with multiplying. I can finally go to my last step, which is subtracting. And 66 minus 45 is 21. And there's nothing else left. That was my last step, so my final answer is 21. And again, we draw our OOO tower and just solve it as we go. All right, bottom problem. So I have subtracting, multiplying, adding, and dividing. Lots of operations. So that means I need an OOO tower. All right, and it has 4 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I look at my problem, I don't have any parentheses, so no need to rewrite. Parentheses and exponents never changes. And then remember, we have multiply and divide here, add and subtract. So now I can go through. The first thing I see is subtraction. So if I wanted to, I could go over to my OOO tower and write an S for subtraction. The next thing I see is multiplication. So I need to go over here and put multiply. Okay, the next one I see is adding. So I'm going to go back to my adding and subtracting row. And after the subtraction, I'm going to put add. And then the very last operation I see is dividing. So I'm going to put divide. So again, I did that left to right, reading it like a sentence, just like we do with a sentence. So now I can go through and actually solve my problem. No parentheses, no exponents. I am on this row right here, and multiplying came first when I'm reading it. If I'm going along here, I hit multiplication first. So I do 7 times 3. 7 times 3 is 21. Mark it out. And then everything else needs to be written. So in front, I had minus 55. And in the back, I had plus 10 divided by 2. Then I can go back to my OOO tower. I did the multiplication. Now I move on to division. So my division was at the back. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. And again, I'm going to mark that out, and whatever's left I rewrite. So I had plus 21 minus 55. All right, go back to my tower. What do I do first? Oh, I have subtraction first because we read it like a sentence still, left to right. So subtract. 55 minus 21 is 34. Mark that out. What's left? Plus 5. Okay, go back. We're done with subtracting. Adding is all that's left. 34 plus 35 is 39. And that's all we have. That's our last step. So 39. All right, so remember in your OOO tower, we start top to bottom, and in the multiply, divide, add, subtract, they are brother and sister. First come, first serve. Whatever comes first in our sentence, that's what we do first.